when in the year 1959, the government of the then Western Nigeria brought the innovation of technology, television in particular, to Nigeria, that's the western part of the country, little did we know that it was going to be something that will take the front burner of our lives today. In introducing television to us, one individual has stood tall in that very area. He trained as an engineer. He was born in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos, so what you want to call him is a true Lagos boy. He was the very first Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, having received proper grounding in television from outside the shores of Nigeria. That is our guest today as we welcome you to Executive Discourse. I am Ololade Adiniji Adele. On this week's episode of the program, I have a distinguished gentleman. Of course, he is an elder statesman. Like I said earlier, a true Lagos boy, because he knows any and everything that has to do with Lagos. But I want to call him Mr. Television. For some people, he's known as Uncle Dilly, but a lot of us know him as Engineer Vincent Maduka OFR. He is our guest today, a trailblazer in his own right. Hello, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good to have you here with us on the show.
It's my pleasure too. Except that you're calling me an area boy.
I did not call you an area boy. I just said you're a
Lagos
true
boy.
Lagos boy.
Okay, all right. All right.
Yes. So I know you were born in Lagos. In fact, I'm sure you even know more about Lagos than I do, being a Lagosian.
Of old, Lagos of old.
Okay, Lagos of old. But I want you to tell us, for the sake of our viewers, who perhaps do not know so much of your story, tell us what childhood was like. Yes, you were born in Lagos, where you were born, the schools you attended.
Well, I was born, as you say, in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos, which was really local. Freeman Street, specifically. But recently I've seen that Freeman Street has been renamed. I don't know whether it's all the way, but part of the way has been renamed. Oh, never mind, I forget the name of the gentleman now. But we had what I call 1.5 rooms, family, and everybody apart from the parents found a mat and slept anywhere for the night, and in the morning you rolled up your mat, you had a bath, and well, you had a bath doesn't mean that you turned the tap. You went round the corner where there was a standing pipe,
Okay.
I don't know what happened to those standing pipes now, but I'd be surprised if they're still there.
No, I don't think they are.
Right. So you went there, you fetched water, and you fought for your bucket of water because nobody respected the queue. They didn't respect who came first.
Even way back then.
It was just a question of who was tougher than the other. But there was usually a kind person who would say, let him take first, he's a small boy or whatever. Then you had your bath, then you went to school. And my school was not too far away, Lagos Government School. I think it became demonstration school or something, near Takba Street, near San Ross Market, near Oshodi, exactly. And one evidence that you had a bath, as far as the teachers were concerned, was that you combed your hair and you parted it. Well, first of all, you cut your hair short, so you couldn't show a lot of parting. But then, whether or not you had baths, you used your nails to part your hair on your way to school, so that there was some line there. And that was not so easy either, because more often than not, you carried your tin box of books on your head, and those tin boxes got rusted at the bottom. Wow. So what was resting on your head was likely to upset whatever. But anyway, everybody was like that. So as it turned out, there were some big men's children that came to the same school, as I found out later. But in between school, a lot of the kids around were Muslim. And they went to Arabic school, Ilekeu, in the morning, and I joined them. Everybody participated in one another's lives there. So I went to Ilekeu with other kids, but
so
there was a lot of beating.
So you can read the Arabic numerals?
I don't remember a lot of it now, but not so much the numerals as the alphabet that I could recall briefly. Oh. And remarkably, Alif. Oh, you call it Alif?
Yeah, well.
All right, Alif we called it, which is A.
Yes.
Ba. Ta. Sa. I don't know what else. But that was wow. And but there was no difference between one child. On Sunday, I went to church. On all these other days, we mingled together. And when the local masquerade came out, we all followed too, but the masquerades only beat us, nothing else. So, but it was fun. We looked forward to the masquerade appearing. What else around there? We were very near Oshodi Square. And this was the Takba area. And you had the Iguno.
Yes.
Which was, remarkably, I haven't seen Iguno on TV or anywhere for a long time now. But Iguno used to come out, and it also used that to celebrate great events, including deaths and so on. And you bear the name Adeniji Adele. And I think that when I was growing up, Adeniji Adele, well, I think it was Adeniji Adele, but Adele, Oba Adele, was I think the second king in my lifetime, I think. I think the first one was Far something. And I was actually in government school with an Adele, who is now a doctor, or until recently was a doctor. I think he's probably alive still.
Yes, he is.
All right. So this was how I was growing up.
And I hear it was quite competitive to get into King's College, especially back then. Very,
very competitive. They admitted 25 a year, and it was like a common entrance exam. The whole country took the exam.
So from the whole country, just 25?
25 a year.
But I've always wondered about something. You're a qualified engineer. How come electrical engineering?
Yes, I've just been thinking about it and writing it down. Oh. Yes. At secondary school, I was at King's College, and we had a career master. Okay. So you were guided, at least they assisted you. And I recall that when we were going to choose our careers, we consulted the Gazette. The Gazette was a national publication, or whether quarterly or monthly basis, I don't remember how frequent it was. But it was the government official publication which showed what vacancies there were in government, who held what position, and so on and so forth. And we used to consult as we progressed in school, maybe from 5 or lower 6 or upper 6. And I chose that for a number of reasons. One, the number of vacancies published in the Gazette showed that when you qualify, there was a job.
As an electrical engineer?
For electrical engineers, there was a job, definitely. That was one. Two, of course, there was jobs for doctors and for, well, not really for lawyers. But the three key professions then were law, medicine, and engineering in that order. After your degree, even now, you're supposed to now take on a pupillage, which was prescribed as 2 years. Okay. And so I worked for 2 years in the UK in that category, in that frame. But I was going to take up a job after that,
in the UK.
A regular job, except that I was now pulled back by the Western Region government because I was a Western Region scholar. When I went to study electrical engineering, I went under the scholarship of the Western Region. Yes. And
you returned to Nigeria and you worked at
WNTV straight away.
WNTV straight away. That's yes. Western Nigeria television.
Yes.
Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, a few events in my life have given me so much pleasure as to come before you tonight to open formally the first television network in Africa. Western Nigeria television is already being emulated by other parts of this country as well as in a number of other African states. I know that you will all gain much from this great medium of mass information and instruction. It is a powerful influence for good. And I am confident that in due course, it will assist in making our great country even greater. With these few remarks, I have great pleasure in formally launching Western Nigeria television first in Africa.
Tell us, what was the experience like then?
Well, it had been going for 2 years when I got there.
Yes.
And all the key positions were held by Europeans. The chief executive, MD, was an expatriate from the UK. Actually, when I arrived there, they had what they call joint managing directors. A Nigerian politician who was partial managing director, and an expatriate managing director who had had experience in television. Then we had a station manager, I think it was called or something, who was really the chief operating officer. Yeah, he coordinated all the goings on. And because I was a people engineer, I was considerably remote from what was going on. I was quite near the shop floor in my first few months. But I spent about 6 months in Ibadan, in the studios, getting the feel of television for the first time. Really, well, I had worked on television equipment in the factory. It was completely incidental. I didn't know I was going to go into television. This was a company, Marconi, that the Western Region government had actually gone into partnership in creating WNTV. And I worked there because I was interested in electronics, and they gave me a job beginning in 1959, June 59 or thereabouts. As soon as I graduated, I moved in there. And so when I got to WNTV, it was not entirely strange to me. The experience I was going to narrate is how I was made to climb the 250-foot tower and go and adjust some equipment there. Well, 250 feet high. This is mass, TV mass.
Yes.
Yes. And I remember telling expatriate engineer. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to climb that thing. It's not my business. You have aerial riggers, climbers, who are paid to climb. Yes, and they are paid on a footage basis. If they climb the short mast, they paid lower. It's a climbing allowance. There's a basic monthly pay. But for every climbing they did, they got an allowance. So why do you want me to allow? Yes, yes. But I think really, he wanted to put me down, let me know my proper place, one. And two was to get the feel of it. And I didn't want either.
So he wanted you to climb a 250-foot mast?
Yeah, he wanted me. I had to.
Oh, you did?
Well, I protested. He told me that orders were orders. So I did. I climbed them. And the thing is that the mast swings a bit at the top. Yeah, from here you don't know, but it swings. So when I got to the top, it was swinging. I said, well, people have been climbing this and coming down. I don't know if I will come down, but...
wow.
Yes, so it was one experience, yes. And the thing to do is to adjust some equipment there, microwave machines. But really, it was just pushing me, that's all. Because ordinarily, an aerial climber, aerial rigger goes up there and has a walkie-talkie.
Okay.
And you were downstairs as an engineer, and you were able to monitor the machine that he was adjusting
up
and
there.
you told him a little more, okay, stop there, go up there. All from down. You don't have to go up. So he goes up, he does that, and you are watching with a walkie-talkie from. But I think he just wanted me to experience. All right, I did it first time. But then he tried to push me a second time, and I refused flatly. I said, sorry.
I wouldn't do
this time I'm not going again. And
wow.
of course, he went and marked me down. And I didn't get promoted. Oh, it was my promotion or my confirmation was delayed. But that's 1960. It's a long time.
And all that is history now. And so, when the General Olusegun Obasanjo administration came and set up the NTA, with you being the very first Director General, how did that make you feel? What did you have? What were you bringing to the table?
Well, yeah, WNTV was a trailblazer, not only historically. It was supposed to be a business. It was supposed to be a commercial station. So the orientation we had at WNTV was a commercial one. The political system in Ibadan was very intense, and by 1962, 63, the expatriates pulled out. The relationship between the government and the Rediffusion International broke down, and it became an entirely WNTV Nigerian affair. And I'm afraid it was really corrupted with politics. And we made little money. We had people threatened and sacked, and it was quite a rough time politically. Then with the coup of 1966, we had a professional manager. Before then, they were all politicians or civil servants who came in to manage WNTV, just perfunctorily, really, nothing like a business. But under the professional manager, Oyeleye, Engineer Oyeleye, from 1966, the place was now run properly. And we were making money from radio. Radio was paying its way and subsidizing television. Television was more glamorous, but there were fewer viewers. Advertisers preferred radio because of the reach of radio. But progressively, television too was making money. And so when I came up to NTA as a DG in 1977, the law setting up NTA allowed NTA to make money. It said so, that you were free to operate commercially and make money. So we drew up a code like WNTV had, so many minutes of advertisement an hour maximum and so on. So there was the major orientation change as between NBC TV, because really we took up the NBC TV premises. They were federal, even though their reach was limited. NTA was federal, and so really the foundation for NTA, you might say, was NBC TV. And NBC TV did not take commercial seriously. Even radio did not take commercial seriously. And the example I give there is that when Radio Nigeria was going to advertise goods on services for, I don't know, maybe an hour or half an hour, whatever, they introduced it as, here is the commercial service of Radio Nigeria, which meant that it was a different service from regular service. At WNTV, there was one service, WNTV. It was a business thing. So, for instance, they didn't do what we call social diary on NBC TV. They didn't do religious-sponsored programs, for instance. They were very conservative. Fair, that's their own style. And my style from Ibadan was different. But Ibadan has set up ground rules. You needed some kind of exposure and discipline for you to move on beyond a certain level. And so we brought that to the NTA. And because NTA was new, I mean, the various stations kept their staff.
Okay.
But those who then came into headquarters must meet
A certain criteria.
minimum of university education. So that was one of the things. Then we set up codes,
Okay.
what a program should do and what it should not do. The news, how do you establish balance? Because even the law of NTA required balance and impartiality and forbade the station from expressing its own opinion or the opinions of its own staff or the opinions of the board members on controversial or industrial matters. They were written down. But the politicians came along and they say, if you don't do their bidding, which is unlawful,
Yes.
then you are an agent of the opposition.
Of the opposition.
Yes, either you are taking money or you are loyal to them and disloyal to themselves. But anyway, these are the battles that you are fighting endlessly. And if you are not careful, they divert you from anything creative and contributory to the main business of the day.
So for NTA, really, your background from WNTV prepared you for your role as First Director General of NTA. Now, you mentioned something about politicians here, and I want to bring you back. I know that the Shehu Shagari administration, for, well, reasons adduced being that NTA took a non-partisanship position back then, relieved you of your services at that time as Director General of NTA. What exactly happened there?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. But really, I mean, you could see the air was thick with, we had, I call it hostility. We had a special advisor. He was special advisor to the president, to President Shagari, on information. So I view all those people these days with a lot of red eye. And so he came. I believe there was something about the party and himself and the president anyway, because there was no minister of information in 1979 when Shagari became president. No minister. And no board was set up for NTA or FRCN, as far as I recall. But there was a man called a sole administrator.
Okay.
So he was to run NTA, run
FRCN
without boards. Wow. So it was relating with the DGs, and certainly let me talk about myself on kind of day-to-day basis. Phone me, have you done that? Are you going to do that? Huh. If you are chairman, you could only take a decision within the confines of a board meeting. One. Two, board meetings are not even on a daily basis. Right? So when you are, last night's news, it was pretty rough time. And I couldn't tell him to get off my back, but every encounter was war. He really was hostile to me. And I just kept my, as they say, my cool with him, because if the president did not appoint a board, did not appoint a minister, and as the special advisor, his special advisor, to be supervising the media within government, then clearly it means that the president is effectively trying to run the stations. So Adebanjo was his name. He might be the tool, but really it's the president's wish that he's doing. But I just couldn't agree with him, because first of all, I don't think that he knew any more about running the TV station than I did. So it's not that I knew everything about it, but for him to effectively be instructing me on a day-to-day basis could only lead to clashes, and it was endless.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't know how it was going to end, but the truth of the matter was, the night I was told I was out, it was a sense of relief.
It was that bad?
Yes, it was very bad. It was very bad.
So safe to say, NTA was expected to take sides with the government, good or bad?
Totally. I mean, the vice president sent for me, face to face. He said I should remove a GM from a station.
Wow.
I said, sorry, sir. What has he done? He said, what do you mean, what has he done?
Oh.
The DG, can't you remove him? I said, no, sir. If he comes to me and says, sir, why are you removing me?
What explanation?
And he said, you're just posting him. I said, well, but that will not be the truth. Can I tell him that the vice president asked me to remove him? He said, what's his business in how I manage the NTA? So I said, well, hey, you want me to remove him, but you don't want me to give your name? The whole thing. And he was my senior at school. I knew him personally. Even before he became vice president, even as an engineer, I used to work for him. He was an architect, and he sent me certain things to. So we knew each other on a personal basis, but this was. So he said, you must remove him. I said, I have to tell him why I'm removing him. And the story of why he was to be removed was a very petty one, you know. And he said to me, you are DG and you can't remove somebody? I said, sir, I am DG, but there are rules why people...
Rules of engagement and disengagement.
Yes. He said, but I didn't ask you to sack him. Just remove him from that station. That's all we want. All right. So after long argument, I said, okay, I called the gentleman. And in those days, we didn't have a good telephone system. But NTA had a radio system connecting NTA head office with every GM office in the country. We bought our system ourselves with a radio, and we had teleprinters, so I could send a memo to all the stations, and it would roll out on their teleprinter machines. So as soon as I was asked to remove this chap, I sent him I think I called him. Hey, my friend, what have you been up to? He said, well, because they had quarreled with them.
He was expecting something.
He was expecting trouble, yes. So I said, come. So he came, and we had dinner together that evening. We chatted what exactly, he told me his story. I said, okay, let's see. I lost the battle. I had to remove him. There was a GM in Ilorin who said, after he won election, he said that GM was supporting the other party against him. This town cannot contain the two of them. He has to go. Oh, yes. Then I talked to him. I said, can I come and see you? He said, no. So I told my chairman, who was very powerful at that time. This was before that board was dissolved and a sole administrator was appointed. This was Alhaji Joseph, very well-respected man from Daily Times. So we made an appointment to see that governor whenever he came to Lagos, because all the governors had liaison offices in Lagos. So Alhaji Joseph and I went to see him in his office. Alhaji Joseph, a very cool, well-respected man, doesn't want to mess himself about. The man greeted him nicely, Governor. Oh, then we brought this matter. He said, yes, yes. But Alhaji, I will do anything for you, but this man must leave my town.
Wow.
Yes. So we had to remove the GI. When we left the place, Alhaji just said to me, Dele, don't bring me to any of these governors again. Because I mean, so that was kind of battle.
And so obviously from those days, political interference.
It's not from those days. I mean, that was nothing relative to WNTV days.
Oh.
WNTV was bad. WNTV was bad. Between 1962 and 1966, WNTV was rough. Because the break in the politics of the Western region, there's nothing like that anywhere else. Because if you have two opposing parties, now that is understandable. But this was one party that split.
Against itself.
Yes. Between Awolowo, a very powerful man, and his deputy, a very bright politician, Akintola. So everybody was hoping this will be mended, it will end, but it was getting worse and worse and worse. And all that was visited
on WNTV.
On the staff of WNTV.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness.
Yes.
But General Buhari brought you back.
Yes, in '84.
So obviously he saw something in you.
Well, he didn't know me.
He didn't need to know you one-on-one.
No, but he didn't read my file either.
Yeah. How do you know that?
Because he told me. They were watching TV on the night of the coup. And the man who was DG of NTA, relatively inexperienced. I would not appear on TV. No, ordinarily, you were barred from putting me on TV when I was DG.
Yes.
If I see myself on TV, I phoned, if it's the news or whoever, what the hell are you up to? Because there's a rule, you don't put me on TV. I have no business on TV. Yes. I have no business there. I'm a back room worker. So carrying the DG or you are making how important you are because you're on TV, out. But he appeared on TV on the night of the coup and was saying something I don't remember. But this is what General Buhari himself told me. And one of the soldiers watching with Buhari and one of his friends, hey, that man, he has no business in NTA. They removed Mr. Maduka and put him there. You know you have to bring Mr. Maduka back.
Wow.
General Buhari told me that.
Wow.
Yes. He said he didn't know me. But when they said so, he said, okay, go and check out this Maduka himself anyway. Because we don't know whether he's a crook or whatever.
Or not.
So go and find out more about him. They checked me out and cleared me. And the coup usually is weekend. On Monday, I was to start work. I think Monday was a public holiday. So Tuesday I got a letter.
In
so that's how I came back, yes.
Good evening. Last Monday, due to time constraints, we were unable to bring the
Yeah, the traffic never jams. Don't cost much to buy some yams. And the neighbors say hello. And we strive to pull you up from down below. can even hear the sound of the cockroach.
Many people are not aware that it was Engineer Maduka's whole concept of what was to be NTA's broadcasting line that gave birth to that kind of program. It was under his office as the Director General that they came up with the idea that rather than work with everyday, what they called perishable programs, the usual programs that everybody produced, NTA should invest heavily in unique programming, at least 2 or so every year, so that we stand head and shoulders above others and come up with quality programs.
So the very short period from the Buhari coup till I retired was really very exciting.
Very exciting. And you obviously left a lot of legacies behind. I mean, things that we're still working on today and trying to fit into as staff of NTA. But in all of this, you have talked about political interference, and that still obtains till date. How exactly do we begin to dissociate politics from television, if ever at all we can?
You really cannot. No, you cannot. Television is power. You're trying to impress the public as a television worker. If you don't impress the public, you're wasting your time.
Exactly.
It means they're not watching you, they're not interested in you. So you're trying to gain the attention of the public. And the politicians think that is their property. You cannot influence members of the public. Who are you? What power do you have? They put you there.
They're the only ones that have the power to do that.
And then you have a choice of either saying, fine, take. In which case I'm running rubbish. Or I'm not in charge at all. Or you stand up to them, all right, you yield 40 and they take 60. Next time, maybe 50-50. Next time, then they wake up one and say, hey, wait, this man is taking too much. Then they throw you out. All right, are you ready to be thrown out? Yeah. I mean, maybe because I was an engineer. You have to be fair. I mean, if you throw me out, I'm not entirely out of, you're not throwing me out of life.
Exactly.
I still have, I can have another job.
Yes.
So you, if I was a lawyer, you threw me out, put on my gown and go to court on Monday morning or whatever. But if I'm a graduate in literature, or you throw me out, yes. So you have to be fair to the people there. If you're a journalist, there are not so many TV stations. Who's going to hire you after that? Or maybe you're a writer, perhaps, in which case, who's going to buy your books? Having
left NTA, the NTA you left behind, what it has become of today, how have we fared so far?
If you talk about viewers, the opinion of 1, 2, 3 viewers is not how you have fared.
Okay.
It has to be a survey, and I think people poo-poo surveys. But because NTA is not a commercial station in the sense that it doesn't rely entirely on its commercial income to live, you can turn its back on numbers, on ratings. But a commercial station, advertisers come to you to the extent that there are viewers.
Yes.
The thing, of course, about commercial stations is that they can turn the other way around, and money becomes an end, and anything goes just for money. They may have lose their principles, if you like, lose their virginity, whatever you call it, for money. That is the extreme case with commercial broadcasting. But in our world, it's still the meter, the gauge of your popularity. But popularity is not everything. I mean, the fact that the masses are following you doesn't mean you're a good person, necessarily. But if you say, this is our target, and we are getting there. We are hitting our target, and it's not bringing you advertisement. Perfect, you are doing well. You see, there is the argument, very light argument by what you call public service broadcasters. Oh, they're on the side of morality. They're on the side of the people. But have you asked the people?
What exactly they want?
Have you asked the people? And it doesn't mean that you give the people what they want, but halfway between what they want and what you think they should have. But you cannot sit in judgment and say this is what they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Again, who are you to say so? And that's why the people who created television, created surveys. You ask people, do you like this? Why do you like it? And you give possible reasons, and you tick the one that they say is the reason.
So we should do more of surveys to know how we're faring.
You properly should do surveys. As a public service broadcaster, you ought to aim to satisfy everybody, unfortunately. So it makes your task also a little more difficult. A commercial station can say, I'll satisfy only those who have money to advertise, to pay for the goods that are advertised. The bulk of Nigerians, maybe not, don't buy most of the goods that are advertised. Because you're advertising goods largely for middle class consumers. And NTA wasn't set up for middle class only, but for the entire gamut. But what you are giving different people should be, out of your own judgment, what A, they need, and also what they want. What they need to be enlightened. They need to have their prejudices broken. But are you strengthening those prejudices? You need a role as a nation builder to unite the country. Are you uniting the country?
Or disintegrating the country the more?
Yes. So these are things that are not the business of commercial broadcasters. But a national broadcasting has those roles to play.
Engineer Vincent Maduka is married to an engineer.
Yes.
Tell us about this.
Yes. Her classmate from Queen's School Ede was an engineering operator in WNTV. And her friend, who is my wife now, was a student at University of Ife in Ibadan, in those days, and introduced me to her friend who came to visit her or something. And I started dating her. And she was, at that time, studying physics, stroke applied physics. But in the course of dating, she had said that she really wanted to go and study engineering at Zaria. But her father would say, Zaria is too far. Anything to stop you from going that far.
That far.
And so she settled for physics in Ife. She can tell her story better than me. So, but that's how we started to date. And then she went on to qualify as an engineer.
As an engineer, yes, eventually.
Yes, and we got married.
Wow, interesting. The program is still Executive Discourse, and I have been speaking with engineer Ifeanyi Chukwu. I'm sure he doesn't know I know that name. Ifeanyi Chukwu, Vincent Bamidele, more like Uncle Dele Maduka. Let's take a pause on the discussion here. Get to meet a few family members. I mean, he just spoke about his wife, how he met her, and they've been together ever since. Let's meet a few family members.
Ooh, to describe somebody you've been with for over 50 years, he's a good man, thorough, strict, and if you can say, he doesn't suffer fools. He's somebody who likes perfection. Not that he's perfect himself, none of us is perfect, but he likes things to be done in certain ways.
It's been pretty exciting having him as a father. He's actually a very patient, very kind, loving man, to not just to us as children, but also to his grandchildren. He has impacted us with valuing education, valuing knowledge, and generally he has taught us how important it is to be good citizens.
I've always admired him and my mom together, the relationship they form, not just personally, but even also professionally. They're both electrical engineers. My first degree was in electrical engineering, naturally. They directly impacted me with that. They never told me to do it, but I guess I admired them professionally so much that it was a natural projection for me. One of the things I really appreciate about my dad and my mom to a large extent is just their work ethic. They work very hard. My dad is somebody with very strong moral character, and he just wants to do the right thing. He's a man of integrity. And that might sound inane, like any girl would say that, or any woman would say that about her dad. But those who know my dad personally know that this is very true. He's just somebody with a lot of integrity, and I admire that. Yeah.
In the course of your years, obviously, you've had a lot of interactions with people. You've made good friends. You've made friends of lifetimes. And I think at this point, it will be nice for us to get to talk to or meet some of those individuals with whom you share long-lasting bonds as friends. The program is still Executive Discourse. Let's get to meet a few of Engineer Vincent Maduka's friends.
He embodies so many virtues and so many elements that are difficult to capture easily. Since his appointment, when he was appointed the Director General, Pioneer Director General of the NTA, he brought a unique freshness and outlook to many of us who had been operating at the state level, now coming to work at the network. And when many of us met him for the first time, he met with engineers, marketers, news people, programs. Each group that met with him came away very impressed with his knowledge and his common sense approach to most issues. In this world, there are great people and there are good people. And hardly do you find them merging in a person. But in Engineer Maduka, we have a truly great and a good person.
He's a gentleman that enjoys a joke, even when he's at the butt of that joke. He enjoys it. And he relates with the young people. He relates, his friends cut across age gradients. And I learned that as something to cultivate, because when you have friends who are much younger than you, it mitigates against loneliness in old age. I learned that from him.
The word honest sometimes is becoming a cliche, but he's very dependable, he's very reliable, he's inspirational. When you see someone in his mid-80s, doing what he does, you'll be inspired, and you just pray to God to have that longevity, the presence of mind, and also that open-mindedness to be able to relate with people from all sort of background and generation. Something I missed out is the fact that he's a detribalized Nigerian.
Engineer Vincent Maduka, we've stayed indoors talking all of this while. But I see that you have a beautiful place there, a garden. I mean, I saw flowers when I was coming in. So why don't we just explore your garden, if you don't mind, sir? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Because I see that...
Since you've been there, so you lead the way.
I see that, you have a lot of greenery around here, which is so rare to find, especially in a place like Lagos these days.
Well, we have spare space.
Yes, you do. You do.
Careful, there are thorns.
Yes, I saw thorns and roses.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Unfortunately, they are not blooming now.
They are not. Okay, maybe you can sit down while I also take a seat here.
All right.
If you don't mind.
No. I'm in your hands.
Thank you very much, sir. all through your time in public service, especially in NTA, you were raising your family at that time. Your position as the Director General of NTA and all that you had to do, did it in any way impact your family, especially maybe negatively or even positively? How did it impact your family?
I reckon it was negatively, particularly with the children, yes. I don't know whether it was that. Because, I mean, I was brought up the old-fashioned way. All I see now about taking your kids around and reading with them, and I only occasionally looked at their homework, but when they were going to take entrance exam, then I worked with them. You know, I really got involved. They had tests, we went through them together. But I find from what the books say and what the modern parents do, I must have failed completely because they spend so much time with their families. I didn't spend so much time. I don't know if that was for it, but just different. That
you would have wished to spend more time with them.
Well, now I know that it would have been a good thing. If I knew it was a good thing.
You didn't know that.
No, I would have done it. NTA or whatever. You must find time for something you want to do.
You want to do.
It's a question of knowing.
What exactly you want. So now, I know that we're in the COVID era, but I also know that before the coronavirus pandemic came, you had a way of relaxing. What do you do in your leisure hour? How do you relax? Do you play sports? Because it will be nice to know how you relax. COVID or not?
Relax. I don't know. I did plenty of TV watching. From one station to the other, foreign, local, and so on. I used to read pretty much. But
do you love sports at all? And if you do, what form of sports?
Not now. I did all kinds of competitive sports as a child. I was not a star, but first in my secondary school it was compulsory. You must do sports.
Yes, that's King's College.
And there were 3 seasons. There was the football season, which was also hockey. I played hockey.
Okay.
I'm fragile in nature. Football is heavyweight, and I don't have that. Hockey, I'm armed like you are armed.
Yes.
So if you hit me, I'll hit you.
I'll hit you.
But you didn't hit
yes.
hockey. Then the next season was a cricket season.
Oh, that was one sport for which King's College was very popular.
Yes, and it was a strange game in Nigeria. And then the third one was athletics. But because sports was compulsory, you had to take part, but I was not a star I played for the school in hockey, school 11 in cricket, but in athletics, nothing.
Nothing.
But you had to take part. So I did hop, step, and jump very badly. I did hurdles very badly. And then I played squash. I played some squash. Even after school at WNTV Ibadan, we played a fair amount of squash. Because there was a squash court near my residence. And we all went there and played squash. In Lagos here, I have not played much squash. I did a little, I think, at Koyi Club.
Okay.
I even got a golf kit, tried to play golf, but I got so exasperated. As I tell people, I played tennis, which was a moving ball, a little tennis, and I hit it. I played hockey, it was a fast-moving ball. I hit it. Cricket, you threw a ball at me, I hit it.
You hit.
Golf, put a ball down, it's not moving, and I can't hit it.
And I can't hit it, so naturally.
I tried, sometimes I would hit it, sometimes I gave up. I had my golf kit there.
Wow.
So that was a real crash out.
That was.
Yes.
Now, so you don't play sports
at
all anymore?
No, but for exercise, I might ride a fixed bicycle these days.
Okay.
With COVID, I try and do it every day, 20 minutes, and I'm tired, but...
At least to keep the limbs moving.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for being a part of this show.
Thank you. I'm very impressed with the amount of work you've done and the way you've gone about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, the entire crew.
We have been speaking with the very first Director General of the NTA, Engineer Ifeanyi Vincent, Uncle Dele Maduka, because he's known more as Uncle Dele. But
by family.
By family. This is a man who has given so much of himself. He's a trailblazer in any ramification at all. And these are the sort of people that we seek to celebrate and bring to you on Executive Discourse week in, week out. Why don't you join us again same time next week for another lovely package, as I would always say. But remember, Executive Discourse is solely a production of the Nigerian Television Authority, and you can only catch it on all NTA platforms officially, even on our YouTube page. Till next week, I remain Ololade Adeniji Adele. God bless you. Bye-bye.